We do this horrible thing to little boys because if a little boy is on the playground, gets shoved out of line, goes to mom or dad, whimpering, crying, I got pushed out of line, mom and dad will really not give that little guy comfort. They'll say, get back in line. If a little girl gets pushed out of line, goes to mom and dad, she gets picked up, she gets asked what happened, she gets comfort, and then she gets put on her feet to walk back in line. We do this to men.
Welcome to Just Healing, where we say the quiet stuff out loud. I'm Dr. Debra. Join us to laugh, cry, cringe, heal, not necessarily in that order. Hello and welcome to this episode of Just Healing. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited about today's episode because it is like right on par with our mission and our vision. And we have a very, very special guest. And I'm going to have her introduce herself because I will mess up her last name. But Gloria, why don't you introduce yourself, your name, and what you do?
All right. My name is Gloria Vanderhorst. I'm a psychologist. And the interesting part about my journey into psychology is that I wanted to be a math teacher until I ran into Calculus 2, where the teacher filled the blackboard on the front of the room, filled the blackboard on the side of the room, never turned around. I prayed to pass that class. And as soon as I passed it, I flipped my major and my minor. It's one of those times in life where there is just divine intervention that changes the path that you're supposed to be on. So I was always supposed to be a psychologist.
Yes.
And I've been one for now more than 50 years. Think of that.
That's insane. But awesome, because you probably helped a lot of people. But you know what? When you got the stats in college, you were probably able to understand it, right?
Right.
More than anyone else,
That's
that
right. I
Yeah.
was golden in that class.
Yeah, I was too, because I loved math up until a point. And then I'm just like you. But when I had my stats class, I understood research methodology.
Yeah.
I was all right. Yeah. But I did not want to do that for
Absolutely.
the rest of my life, So
And in psychology,
Mhm.
paying attention to the details like math is
Mhm.
critically
Yeah.
important. It is just critically important.
Right. The how your client walks in and how they don't, and the things that they
Mhm.
say. And your specialty is working with men, which I
Right.
think is amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you do working with men.
Well, I fell into working with men by accident. When I started my private practice and I left teaching at the college level, I had a friend who ran a preschool. And so she naturally referred little children to me if they needed evaluations. And if you know preschools, you know that they're run by women.
Yeah.
All right. The leader is the woman, the teachers are women.
Owner.
It's unbelievable. If I could change it, I would. But they point out that boys are different than little girls. Little girls will sit in the circle, they'll fold their hands, they'll pay attention, they'll sit up straight. Little boys are elbowing the
Yep.
person next to them, playing with things, biting their shirts. They're doing all different kinds of things. And so the teacher thinks, oh, there must be something wrong with this little boy. He probably has attention deficit. So he gets referred out for an evaluation, which was golden for me. Little boys educated me on what it is like to be a little boy in this culture. And then their fathers, after I finished evaluating their sons, their fathers put time on my calendar because they had had similar experiences of being identified really early as having some kind of a problem or difficulty acting out, having difficulty in learning. So I just got pickled in understanding males in this culture. I mean, years and years, my calendar was just totally filled with males of all ages, from preschool, elementary, all the way up to adults. And I am so grateful to those males because they educated me. They truly pickled me in what it means to be a male in this culture. And it's not fun.
No.
It's not a good thing. Our jails are full of men because we rob them of their emotional capabilities in infancy.
Yeah, it men can have one emotion, right? They can be angry, right? But they
Right.
cannot be soft, they cannot be
They cannot be
overwhelmed.
soft. They cannot be tender. They cannot be needy.
Mm-mm,
Right. And we shame them. Right. We have all kinds of language for shaming them if
mhm,
they go into those tender emotions. We
mhm,
call them sissies.
mhm,
Right. We put them down completely. We castrate them
mhm,
if they have tender feelings and emotions. Yet, when they grow up, we expect them to understand what it means to love another adult. And we expect them to be able to take care of a child. They can't do it.
mhm,
Right? We have not supported, we have not trained, we have not educated, we have robbed them of that
mhm,
capability. We do it in infancy because mothers do not understand that boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do.
mhm,
So when a little infant boy gets more intense on the positive end or more intense on the negative end, mother backs away,
mhm,
right? Scrunches up her face, doesn't like that intensity. Infants are brilliant. They're the most brilliant people on the planet because they have to use that intelligence for survival. So as soon as mother backs away, scrunches up her face, they go, I'll never use that feeling state again. So they narrow the range of expression, and then when they start to walk, we double down. All right. We do this horrible thing to little boys because if a little boy is on the playground, gets shoved out of line, goes to mom or dad, whimpering, crying, I got pushed out of line, mom and dad will really not give that little guy comfort. They'll say, get back in line. If a little girl gets pushed out of line, goes to mom and dad, she gets picked up. She gets asked what happened. She gets to tell her full story. She gets comfort. And then she gets put on her feet to walk back in line. We do this to men.
mhm.
And then we wonder, why is the divorce rate 50% or more? And it is. The stats will tell you it's going down. That's bullshit, which is my mother's word. We are not getting married officially anymore.
No.
So when you separate, it doesn't appear as a stat.
Mhm,
All right. We have to change the way in which we relate to male infants and toddlers so that we change the entire structure so that the majority don't end up in difficulty in their marriage relationships, and so that our jails are not full of men.
mhm. Yeah. No, and it's true, but I wanna go back to what you said about ADHD because I think that we mislabel little boys so much because they're antsy. I mean, it's part like you said, they're born with more of
They're
that in
born with
them.
more
Yeah.
emotional energy than a little girl has.
Yes.
So they are naturally going to be, elbowing, distracted, moving around. If I were in charge, I'd put a tree in every preschool so the boys could climb the tree and listen to the story. They'd be
Yeah.
perfectly happy. They
Mhm.
will receive every element of that story. They'll be able to answer any question about that story. because their bodies are in motion. They just cannot sit quietly in the circle.
No, no, they can't do it. There's nothing wrong with them. They just can't do it. And
Mhm.
but then they get labeled, and then they want to give them drugs. They want to give them
Right,
Ritalin or something that's gonna, and I'm like, someone who has ADHD, like really, it will help
right.
them. Someone who
And it's
doesn't,
true,
it's
some
gonna,
people do.
yeah, it's gonna
It's
wind
real.
them up. It's gonna do the opposite effect, and then you're mad at them again because they really are mislabeled. So we have to stop trying to make everything negative, in boys, because then that's when you see the shutdown, right? Because that developmental process, and then when
Right.
something happens in trauma, then
Mhm.
they're not going to tell you, and then they're carrying that
Right.
years, right?
Right, right, and if you carry something, all right, it will appear in your body in
Mhm.
some way. That's the reason men die earlier than
Mhm.
women, because they don't have the opportunity to express emotion, so
Mhm.
that emotion gets carried in the body in some way, and the body breaks down. Some system in the body will inevitably break down.
Mhm. It will definitely. That's why you have higher rates of cancer, and you have higher
Mhm.
rates of heart disease and
Heart attacks.
heart attacks, right? Because they're
Mhm.
carrying the body keeps score. That's a great book,
Yeah,
you
it
know?
does, right. Bessel van der Kolk is right on target.
He is right on it. But your practice, we have not had someone come in and talk about, like, your theoretical, orientation. So why don't you tell people that? Because I think it will hit home with a lot of people who are listening or watching.
Well, the approach that I use is not my approach, right? It's another brilliant person. I approach treatment with boys, men, women, girls using internal family systems. And the philosophy of this is that we all develop pieces and parts of ourselves from interacting with the world around us. We're very complicated. And if we address that complication seriously, right, we can get back in touch with the root of this particular piece of your personality. I'll give you a really good example, right? A woman, an infant, right, is born with a defect, a serious defect, 1940-ish, right? Maternity wards. Every mother is in a bed separated by a curtain. There might be a dozen of them in a room. The babies are brought in and given out to mom. Mom unwraps the baby and discovers that this little girl that she's holding has a serious physical defect. She has an open spine. And the mother starts screaming. She screams for the nurse. She screams for the doctor. Now, think about the experience of that infant. That infant was calm, had been well cared for, wrapped up beautifully, and her first interaction with mother is mother going berserk, just screaming at the top of her lungs. So, this woman, as an adult, is shy, right? Timid,
Mhm.
backing off,
Mm.
and she doesn't understand kind of where does that come from? It's
Mhm.
not who I want to be. But it just seems like every place I go, that's who I am. I'm this
Mhm.
shy, timid character. And we finally, right, get mother to tell this story.
Mm.
And it's like, wow, right? And suddenly this woman can release that shyness completely because it doesn't belong to her,
No.
right? It doesn't belong to her. It belongs to mother. Mother's the screaming Mimi in this story, and the
Mm.
baby was perfectly happy. So once she understands that dynamic, she can release the timidity and become a completely different person. Same thing is true for our boys,
Mhm.
right? These early histories where boys get shamed for being emotional, yet they have a stronger sense of human emotion than girls do. Once they uncover that, then their relationships with their children, with their spouses, with their friends, with their coworkers, it just changes overnight. It's necessary that we educate the population on what we do to boys and that we stop doing it.
Yeah. And we stop doing it. That's the thing. But how do we get there? Because a lot of people just don't want to hear it. I mean, what could we do to start changing that?
Well, one of the things I would really love to do if I were in charge of the world is that I would put a male and a female teacher in every preschool.
Mm.
And I will tell you exactly why, right? My granddaughter had a male preschool teacher. One day they're doing finger paints, right? Big sheets of white paper on the table, finger paints lined up in the center of the table. And she's working on the paper. And then she starts moving off the paper onto the table. Yeah, think about it. Onto the table. And then she starts down the table leg, right? With all these finger paints. This guy took out his phone and videotaped her. He never stopped her. A female would
Oh.
have stopped her immediately. Keep
Mm.
your fingers on the paper.
Hmm.
He did not stop her. I want a male in every preschool.
Hmm. Hmm. Because boys do that. And he knew that she was just in a process. You
Right,
can clean off the
right.
paint. You can wipe that down. You can get rid of that, but
That's
let her
right.
have
You
her.
can clean that off.
Yeah. Let her
No
have
big
her
deal.
happy.
Let's see where this is gonna go. And
Yeah.
men are more curious. They're more interested in kind of
Yes.
following the path.
Yeah.
Women are rigid. There's a rule here, all right? We're doing finger painting on paper, so you stay on the paper.
Yeah.
No, thank
Yeah.
you. I want a male in every preschool.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is the play is very, very different, right?
It
And
is.
if you had that balance, they would also have better balances in their relationships, right?
Absolutely.
Because you have two sides to the coin, but those two sides are going to be so brilliantly interwoven
Right.
together.
And they'll work well together. I want a male and a female in every preschool. In Scandinavia, they are starting to do that.
Mm.
All right. It isn't universal yet, but that's their intent is
Hmm.
to put a male and a female in every preschool. It's brilliant.
Mm. That is brilliant. And imagine if we just changed our language on things too.
Oh,
So we have a male and a female, just changing our language on how we send the message, you know?
that's right. Right. How many times have we heard a parent tell a boy that he's not supposed to cry? I mean, it is sad.
It
It
is.
is heartbreaking. I have my own little story. We're visiting neighbors. We have a 3-year-old girl. They have a 3-year-old boy. The kids are playing very nicely with each other. The adults are having a great conversation. My daughter keeps his favorite toy and will not give it back. Now, the guy tries. I see him out of the corner of my eye, right? He tries to get it back. She refuses more than
Mm,
once. And so he gets up, he starts to cry and whimper. He heads towards his parents as a
mm,
resource. He
mm,
should head towards his parents
mhm,
as a resource. Help
mhm,
me. She just kept my favorite toy. He is heading towards his father. His father takes the back of his hand, slaps that kid in the chest, lands him on his butt, and says, "Stop crying." Now, that is the classic way that we relate to males. We do not want them to cry, and we tell them that as soon as they get on their feet.
mhm.
If they're infants, we let them cry. If they get on their feet, we don't.
Ugh. Yeah, that is a great example. You know, let them get together. Let them stand up.
Yeah.
I would my son would always have his little meltdowns, right? Sometimes.
Mhm.
And I would just sit there and I'd say, "Okay." And our thing was get it together. Get it
Uh-huh.
together. And how he got it together, I never gave him a definition of that.
Right.
I'd
Whatever
say
it takes.
Yeah, whatever. I just said, "Get it together." And so I say, "Okay,
But
let's
you gave
count."
him time,
Yeah,
all right? And you gave him agency. It's
yeah,
his to get
it's
it
his.
together, not yours. It's his.
And I also have him count. I go, "Okay, count 1, 2." I said, "Okay, see how long it takes you." Right? But it gave him something else to focus on as we were doing this, and then he would get it together, right?
Right,
But and so now I even see him like, "Okay, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna process," but it's because I let him figure that out,
right,
instead of telling him, "Don't cry, don't do this." Like,
right,
whatever you need to do to get together, just get it together. Like,
right. Figure it out. And it belongs to you, right? So
yeah,
he takes ownership
yeah.
of this. In my scenario, the dad took
Mhm.
ownership of this little boy's feelings
Yeah, he did.
completely.
Completely, and made it very negative, and that's the
Mhm.
part that is very difficult, and because
Yeah,
he now
scary.
that kid's gonna not be able to go through life, he's gonna hold it in, and it's gonna go in a
Right,
different direction,
right.
and that's just awful, you know?
It is. It's horrible.
You have a book you're writing.
I do. I'm writing a book for fathers on how to raise a healthy boy
Mm,
because I know we can do it, right? But it's like the airplane, right? You have to put your own oxygen mask on first. So
okay.
if you're a father, you have to understand your own history first. And once you do that, you are to educate your son, come alongside of your son, to support your son, and to eliminate these cultural biases that tell little boys you're not supposed to cry. Or
Mhm,
if you cry, you're a sissy. I mean, we shame little boys
mhm,
for having any kind of emotional reaction,
mhm,
with the exception, I will tell you, one of the advantages of cell phones today, I see it with teenagers, right? They're communicating with each other. They're sitting right next to each other. They're not looking at each other.
mhm,
They're typing on these cell phones.
mhm,
But the advantage for a male is that the male gets to experience feelings without facing another person. So
mhm,
his feeling states are more genuine, they're more real. So he, in his own body, is experiencing more honest
mm,
feeling states than if he had to face this person and talk to them directly.
mm,
Because if I face another, their feedback to me is going to limit my emotional expression.
mm.
So that's the only advantage I can think of a cell phone. You got it.
But that's a great chapter. Great chapter. The advantage of a cell phone. This is the
That's
only.
right.
I would pick it up just because I'd want to know.
Right.
I think that it's going to help a lot of people, though. You know, like,
I'm hoping so.
yeah,
Yeah. I really want fathers to appreciate that they have been restricted
yeah,
way too long.
yeah,
And they have such a responsibility with their boys, with their girls as well, but especially with their boys. We do horrible things to boys, and our men grow up without the capability of emotional problem solving. I mean, that's
yeah.
why our jails are full of men. They're not full of women, they're
No,
full of men.
no. There's such a small fraction of women in our jails, in our prison system. And yeah, they're there, but it's different. And it's because of how we're socialized, right? It's because
Hmm.
of how we're taught to look at problems and how to get ourselves out of problems, right?
Right,
If we would stop putting on our men that you have to be this and this and this and this
right.
to be success, they would be able to live their lives in a better trajectory. And
Very different environment.
mhm, yeah, and it's scary, you know,
It is. It's terrifying.
and the state of how the world becomes, or how it is up to us to change that in our
Hmm.
generations,
It is.
yeah. So we have to support our men. And
Yeah.
please, please don't come and put the comments in there telling us that we're forgetting our women. We did not. We made a reference to it, but we also,
Hmm.
the men never get that recognition of the pressure.
That's right.
It's the pressure part, you know?
That's right.
Yeah.
And we do have to educate our women, right?
Mhm.
Because women think that
Mhm.
they want a male who is capable of emotion, but they do not.
No. And that's
They
what
do not.
men learn to not tell them, right?
That's right.
Like,
That's right. So, the guy that comes home from work, he's just had a devastating experience. Maybe he's missed a promotion. He's definitely down in the dumps. The wife will ask, "What's wrong?" He will give a headline, all right? "I missed the promotion today." And she will say, "I'm so sorry, honey." "Oh, but I have this thing on the stove in the kitchen," or "I've got to go close my computer," all right? She will disengage immediately because she knows this guy has come home with a boatload of feelings and she has no idea how to open that up.
Yeah.
So she is.
Yeah. It's on to something else. And
Mhm.
that's how she's tracking it. She's avoiding it.
Right.
Right. Well, we are almost out of time. What do you want to leave the audience with?
Wow. What a question. I would love for everyone who is listening to this to reflect on the way in which they have related to men, whether it is a sibling, a spouse, a friend, and take seriously the need to change the way that we relate to men. It isn't just the infant or the preschooler, right? It's the neighbor, it's the husband, it's the coworker. Change the way
Yeah.
that you relate.
And a lot of people won't want to dig that deep. But if
That's
you
right.
do, God, it could really start a change
Yeah,
in the world. It could,
definitely.
just because if you do your part in that, the
That's
rippling
right.
effect will be
Right.
so amazing,
Hmm.
and life will begin to be better for others. So.
Right. When your husband comes home with that headline, sit down,
Hmm.
right? Don't
Hmm.
go take care of something on the stove or close your computer. Sit down and say,
Hmm.
just tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah, that will make all the difference. So,
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to be more purposeful in that too, as well. So, see, I
Excellent.
learned something today from Gloria.
Yay. Good.
And how do people get in touch with you?
So you could find me through my website, which is www.drvanderhorst.com. So that's www.drvanderhorst.com. And you can look at my journal books and my upcoming book on gloriasbooks.com. That's all lowercase, gloriasbooks.com, all smashed together.
Well, I am going to put them in my Amazon bookstore because they're on Amazon, right? And
Yes.
so then people can go to the resources and find all the books,
Excellent.
and they can probably eventually get on the Men Healing site because I think we have a resource site as well. So you
Excellent.
find them there. And thank you, everyone, for listening and watching to this episode of Just Healing. If you'd like to learn more, get involved, or find community, visit menhealing.org.